Hi, I'm Joey Lott, and in this video, I'd like to share with you one of the top mistakes that I see people making when they are applying the practice of direct self-inquiry in order to discover the truth of who they are, to finally put suffering to an end in their life, and to begin living from the clarity of the recognition of who they are. And the reason I want to share this with you is because this one thing can save you a tremendous amount of unnecessary struggle and suffering and seeking, and allow you to really discover this clarity in your direct experience much quicker. So for those who are new to direct self-inquiry, let me be clear about what I'm talking about. So most spiritual practices that have the aim of self-realization are indirect. And that is that you do something in order to have some experience that's going to then deliver to you, theoretically, the discovery of who you are. And so that sounds maybe interesting until we realize that that's totally indirect and unnecessary, and that in fact it's possible instantaneously right now to recognize who you are and to actually live from that clarity rather than seeking for clarity. And this is really important because when we are seeking for clarity or seeking for freedom or seeking for peace, we're actually placing the seeking first rather than placing peace, clarity, and freedom first. So what I mean by that is that when we are seeking for freedom, we are practicing seeking. And as you may have discovered in your life, seeking is actually suffering. Because no matter how good your life is, no matter how much your life has seemed to improve through self-help or spiritual practices, it doesn't fully satisfy. So all of those things are fine. There's no problem with doing things to improve your life, apparently, unless that is only contributing to the suffering in your life. And at some point, most of us have to tell the truth that no matter what we do, no matter how good we seem to be able to make our life, that underlying suffering of seeking, of not living from the clarity of self-recognition, is not what we're really wanting. We want to know who we are. In fact, we need to know who we are. We need to have that clarity, because otherwise that anxiety eats at us, and it makes all of the supposed apparent gains in our life really pointless, because they're not anchored in the clarity of recognition of the truth of who we are. And so that's why direct self-inquiry is the most direct, efficient approach to awakening that I am aware of. So what is one of the big mistakes that people make? That's what the purpose of this video is to share that with you. So we begin with the direct self-inquiry in the recognition instantaneously right now that I am. So you can inquire right now simply by noticing or shifting attention away from thought fixation, away from the mind. Not to get rid of the mind, not to change the mind, not to harmonize the mind, not to quiet the mind, not to do anything with the mind, but to notice that we have this power of attention, and that we can allow that attention to shift from mind where it's been fixated out of habit, and to simply recognize what's here prior to, during, and after all thought. In fact, the arising of all experience is in the spaciousness of being that we are. And this is accessible to us in direct experience. And all we have to do is simply pause for a moment and just recognize that we are. And in this, we can see that this is not a thought. There's no thought. You don't have to have the thought, I am, to recognize that you are. The recognition that you are is prior to the thought, I am. We can see that states come and go, feelings come and go, Experiences of all kinds come and go in being, in the being that we fundamentally recognize ourselves to be. So what's the big mistake? The big mistake is in continuing to try to apply the old way, which is based on separation, a false idea of separation, and thought fixation, and believe that somehow we're going to be able to use that in order to get that which we most desire, when we're overlooking that the revelation of direct self-inquiry is that that is already true. We are already here. That being is already being, already free, already aware, already awake. That it's already at peace. That there is nothing that is needed. We don't need to go anywhere, attain anything, achieve anything, do anything, earn anything. It's already here. So we have the direct recognition, which is what direct self-inquiry is offering to us. And then there's the betrayal in the next instant of turning to thought again to tell us, are we succeeding? So this is the thing to recognize. First, to have clarity on what it is that direct self-inquiry is. It's the simple recognition that you are. Then, to recognize the habit of going to mind, consulting mind to tell us if we've been successful with self-inquiry. And that's the betrayal. Not to say it's wrong or that you will be punished, but just to start to recognize that that's a betrayal. Because the directness of direct self-inquiry is the instantaneous, immediate recognition that you are. And for this, we really are benefited by trusting in the process rather than turning back to mind over and over and over to tell us if it's successful. And this is really important to hear, because if we keep turning to mind, we're still turning to the old separation paradigm, which says that we have to do something to have a particular experience, that experience conforms to our prior ideas of what awakening is. And then we believe that will deliver to us what it is that we desire. And what we truly desire is peace, freedom, awareness. So we have to start to recognize that old way, that old paradigm, simply is not true. It will not work. It will never work. And we have to be willing to turn away from that in order to discover really, truly, in our own direct experience, the truth of who we are. Not as an idea, but in direct experience. So rather than turning to mind to tell us if we are successful, we will get the greatest results by continuing to inquire or access, by accessing the instantaneous clarity of self-recognition, just that you are. That is enough, but it must be done repeatedly in many contexts in your life, honestly, without turning right away to the next thought to tell you whether you've been successful. Because this is not something that you can measure by the old standards, which are all based on mind, based on separation paradigm, based on the idea that you as a separate thing need to do something in order to achieve success so that then you can be okay. We have to be willing to place okayness first. We have to be willing to place peace first, freedom first, and trust in that, to trust that really, truly, that is what is here. And then rather than trying to create some new state or look to thought to tell us whether we're being successful, we have to continue to trust through the practice of self-inquiry, direct self-inquiry, to recognize what it is that's always here. This is not something that will be recognized by mind. Mind doesn't have this capacity. Recognition is only available to you as awareness. So that's important to understand. We're not trying to get some kind of understanding in mind. Understanding in mind may come, but that's irrelevant, actually. The primary thing is to recognize in direct experience simply that you are. And if you trust in that process, then it absolutely works. You must trust and just apply it. If you continue to look to mind to tell you if you are successful with this, then you will delay or prolong this process, and you will generate for yourself unnecessary suffering. So that's one of the big mistakes that I see people making that leads to an elongation of the seeking, which is suffering. So if you hear this and you are really earnest and really, really on fire, then this is the key, is to inquire over and over and over in this direct and simple way in your life, not separate from your life, and to be willing to take those small risks in your life, to be willing to be in the fire of what the mind says is discomfort, and to inquire in that moment, and then in the next, and then in the next, to recognize what it is that's really here in support, always supporting all, which allows all of this, which is the spaciousness in which it arises, and that which is breathing you, that which is beating your heart. And we can begin to recognize this intimately in our own direct experience. So I hope that that's been helpful to you. Now, if you find, as most people do, that you kind of get it, but you wonder, why is this not seeming to work? Then I would really strongly encourage you to get support, to get direct coaching from a mentor who you can trust to guide you to look for yourself over and over in this direct way, and who can help you to be clear about what it is that comes and goes and what it is that's always here. That's all that is necessary. But you will find that this process is dramatically shortened when you have the proper support and mentorship. So I strongly encourage you to find that. If that's me, awesome. If it's somebody else, awesome. So long as you have that support to continue to bring you back to that clarity of the direct self-inquiry. That's what is necessary. If you're interested in learning about opportunities to work with me, you can go to joeylott.com/now, N-O-W. So that's JOEYLOTT.com/now. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.